Hi, I'm Femi OK, and you're in the stream. Today in India, will mass protests stop the country's controversial new citizenship law? We will take a look at the debate surrounding the Citizenship Amendment Act. You can be part of the conversation as well. We're on Twitter at AJStream and streaming live on YouTube.
Hi, I'm Dipti Mehta. I'm an actor, writer, and activist, but most importantly, a human voice. And you are in the stream.
Protesters across India are continuing their fight against the new citizenship law that excludes Muslim immigrants and is stoking fear of greater anti-Muslim discrimination in the country. The Citizenship Amendment Act passed Parliament in December and grants non-Muslim immigrants from Pakistan, Afghanistan and Bangladesh a quicker pathway towards citizenship. Because the law benefits only people of certain religions, protesters say it goes against India's secular constitution.
We are protesting because this law divides the country on the basis of religion. The tradition of our country has been unity in diversity. India is not just a Hindu nation. India is made up of different communities.
Over the weekend, hundreds of thousands marched in Hyderabad and in other cities across India. One protest was met with clashes that injured up to 30 students at a prominent university in New Delhi. So what kind of impact will massive public outcry have, if any? With us to talk about this in New Delhi, Aisha Rena, a protester and student at India's National Islamic University. In Hyderabad, Asad Uddin Owaisi, a member of India's parliament. And in Miami, Florida, Kartikeya Tanna, a lawyer and political commentator. It's good to see you, everybody. I want to start with a little flavour of what it's like to be online. There's so much support in terms of social media going against various different perspectives on the Citizenship Amendment Act. Let me give you a little flavour here. Grandma protesting. The hashtag CAA_NRC protests. Let me just give you a little bit of grandma in the streets here. So to be clear, this protest is against the Citizenship Amendment Act. Let me give you another little sample here. This hashtag CAA protests. 15-year-old Janae destroyed 9 vehicles during these protests. His mother, Bori, has been served notice to recover damages, and she has no money or property. And I'm not sure about this bit, about how she is going to raise the money. But we'll move on. Let me give you one more example. And this is poetry for the people, again, against the Citizenship Amendment Act. The audience are obviously wrapped with attention here, enjoying the poetry. Kartikeya, this is not unusual. Poetry in the streets, people protesting, and they are doing so with great fervour. When you see this against the Citizenship Amendment Act, it's already happened. It's already legal. What is your reaction? How do you explain this to the world? This is not just isolated bits of social media that I'm showing. People in India are genuinely concerned about this, or not.
Well, I think the issue with the protest is that I'm sorry to say it results from a misunderstanding of the law. And I'm also sorry to say that not a lot of people who started the protest actually have read the law. The law is being touted as anti-Muslim. But let's look at the law. Let's look at the situation as it were if this law wasn't passed. What's the right of a Muslim non-Indian who is an immigrant in India? If he's a legal immigrant, he can stay under the rules of his visa. If he's an illegal immigrant, then it's divided into 2 sections. One is someone who's fleeing persecution on any ground, like ethnicity, religion, etc. That person, under the government policy, can continue to get what's called a long-term visa, which is a refugee policy of the government of India. And that illegal immigrant, who is just an economic migrant, who is coming to India for search of a better livelihood, obviously is liable to be deported. There's no refugee policy for him. There's no policy that protects him. What does the Citizenship Amendment Act do? Does it render this Muslim non-Indian any worse off?
I wanted to defend Mr. Karthikeyan. You have been starting by telling that the people who are protesting in the streets are not aware of the act or not aware of the bill. I am Aisha Rana, being a postgraduate student. I
Yes,
am representing
Aisha, I'm
the
not
whole
talking about
university, whole the students, whole the India. I have seen, I have went to the people, I have talked to the people all over the India.
But I'm not talking
Everyone
about
have read, analyzed, and understand everything regarding the CAA. How the state is being Islamophobic and how the state is planning for a Muslim genocide all over the India. Each and every one, including everyone, is as clearly analyzed and understand the bill. We are so much aware of the Islamophobic ideology which the BJP government from the initial stage, from their formation onwards, they are planning for a Hindutva state. They wanted to divide India on the basis of religion. The protesters, the people all over the street are against
Aisha,
that.
I want to ask you one
India is a
question.
united thing.
So guess.
India is a united and
Karthikeya and Aisha, hold tight for one moment, because I'm just going to catch everybody up who's maybe outside of India,
Okay.
so they really do appreciate why this is such a fierce debate. So, as Karthikeya was explaining, this is an immigration law. It impacts foreign refugees from neighbouring countries. It particularly impacts people of different faiths. It names the faiths, but nobody included in those faiths where these foreign refugees can get accelerated immigration status. None of them are Muslim. It doesn't name any Muslims, which is why Aisha is saying this is Islamophobic. Aisha, as you were speaking, Karthikeya, I'll let you come back in just a moment, but as you were speaking, we were seeing huge protests from just this weekend in Hyderabad. Why are people out on the streets in such numbers? Aisha, you go ahead.
People has clearly read and they have clearly analyzed what is the act is all about. I have to say that CAA should not be analyzed, or it should not be understood as alone. It should be connected with NRC, it should be connected with NPR. Then only we can see the mass in which, or the level of the intensity in which the Islamophobic genocide is going to happen in India. The people have understand that, people have clear evidences, and people have clear analysis over that. That is why the people are coming into the protest. They are coming in the street in a mass number. This is like the second freedom fight that is happening in India. This is for our existence. That is why people from all over the India, especially in the universities, you have seen that how brutally the police is attacking the students in the universities, how the police have brutally attacked the people in UP, Uttar Pradesh, people how brutally they have attacked recently in the JNU, Aligarh Muslim University, JMI. They are clearly targeting the people who are educated, who are clearly known and analyzed about this. They are targeting the people who are educating people over the CAA, against the CAA Act. So here in India, what is happening is a clear planned structural racism, which is excluding the
Aisha, I hear you. I'm going to ask you just to slow down just a little bit so everybody can hear what you're saying and understand what you're saying, because you have been involved in this protest since the beginning of December.
Yeah.
Karthikeya, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, so the only question I want to ask, Aisha, is that this law, Citizenship Amendment Act, if really the goal of the government was to make this a Hindu state or a Hindu nation, as she's alleging, why would Christians, why would Parsis, which are Zoroastrians, originating from Iran several hundreds of years ago, why would they be included in the law? And the reason is that this law is about religious persecution that minorities suffer in 3 neighboring countries. And let me tell you very specifically, all constitutions of these 3 countries specify Islam to be the state religion. Now, how can you potentially argue that Muslims in these 3 countries are persecuted? A refugee protection cannot be permitted to. I mean, how can Muslims from those countries claim that they are refugees and they're fleeing religious persecution?
All right, so
like
Karthikeya is pushing back and saying it's not Islamophobia. Assad, join us. Join us, Assad. Go ahead.
No, Mr. Karthikeyan is deliberately misleading your viewers. It violates the basic structure of the Indian Constitution. And no government, whether it's Modi government or any government, can violate the basic structure of the Constitution. Please understand that a national register of citizenship was done in the state of Assam, and 1.9 million people names were excluded. it is the BJP finance minister of Assam who has clearly said that the 500,000 odd Bengali Hindus will be given citizenship, Indian citizenship under Citizenship Amendment Act. The 500,000 Muslims, Bengali Muslims who have been excluded from Assam will not get the citizenship. This in itself is discriminatory.
So the
Please
fact
understand
that,
for the
so Assad, the fact that Muslims, the fact that Muslims are not included in the Citizenship Amendment Act, that is the problem for the people who are protesting. Let me just join in a little bit because
that's not the problem.
No.
Please, the problem is this government has violated the Constitution of India. You cannot make laws on the basis of religion. Laws have to be religious.
Yes, you can.
The Constitution of India, let me finish. The Constitution of India talks about correcting social wrongs in Article 15 and 16. Differentiate between laws for citizens of India, and you cannot make basis of citizenship on the basis of religion. That is why we say that you are changing the pluralism, the diversity of this country. This country cannot become Pakistan. This country will not become Bangladesh. This country will definitely not become Afghanistan. And as an Indian citizen, I don't care about what's happening in Pakistan, Bangladesh, or in Afghanistan. Please understand, you cannot violate my constitution. You cannot take away, you cannot make laws on the basis of religion, because the end result would be this country would become a theocratic country.
So Assad, if I may, because I want to bring in some other voices. Assad, if I may, I want to bring in some other voices into this conversation. This could be a legal or policy conversation, but it goes beyond this because people are being killed, people are being beaten, and there is violence amongst the protesters. I want you to have a listen to Surabhi Ranganathan. She's a senior lecturer at the University of Cambridge. From her perspective, this is what the protests are about. Have a listen, have a look.
The law presents itself as a refugee law, but it is not. The law, in fact, introduces a stratified notion of citizenship, in which privileges of religion and indeed of class determine political entitlements. The law, in this sense, runs contrary to the commitments to equality and non-discrimination that are provided in the Indian Constitution. It is contrary to preambular values of a secular and socialist republic. And it is also worth noting in the past few days, as protesters have tried to invoke these constitutional values, they have been met with very high intensity, high scale violence from the state, which is particularly targeted at Muslim areas and at Muslim universities.
So I'm also just looking here at what the BJP is saying here, and they're talking about spread facts, not myth. You can have a look here on my laptop, and they are talking about people just not understanding the Citizenship Amendment Act, and they're putting out the information here. Kartikeya, you're saying exactly, but one of the things that's happening is, why are people being beaten? Why are police beating protesters? Why is there violence amongst this protest? If it's just a question of facts and educating the public, why is there violence? Why are people being killed?
Because, Femi, everyone in the nation has seen how buses, public property, have been torched by protesters. India has no issue and cannot have any issue with non-violent protests. Aisha and Mr. Owaisi,
I have seen the police burning the bus in the Delhi. The police burned one bus in front of me. I am a witness of police burning bus. Then how can you say the protesters have burned the bus? This is completely,
So yes, it's really clearly that you're not all on the same page about that, which is great because that's why we invited you to be on the stream. But very simply, just answer me very simply. Why are people being beaten? Why is there violence? If it's just a question of facts and sharing the facts with the public. Kartikeya, you go first, but briefly. Go ahead.
It's absolutely possible that in individual instances, the police may have committed some excess in action. I mean, there's no, I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to hold a brief on behalf of the police.
You're not certain about this. Assad, go ahead.
We don't know the full story, do we? We don't know the full story.
Lost his eye. A young student in Jamia Millia was reading in a library. An LLM student lost his eye, complete eye. One student, Aligarh Muslim University, lost his arm was amputated. Come on, what are you talking about? Which world are you living in?
Would at least understand that when there are Black Lives Matter protests that happened and the police was trying to maintain law and order, Sometimes it does result in
forget about
statistics. No one's owning it.
So guess, I'm just going to ask you just to pause for a moment. Guess, I'm going to ask you to pause for a moment. This is obviously a very, very important topic for you because your voices are being raised here. Aisha, why is there violence? Explain to us why, from your perspective, as a protester who's experienced violence, why is there violence? Go ahead.
You might have seen that viral video which went on everywhere. That video has taken, or it happened 1 kilometer far away from Jamia.
Okay, so Aisha, I'm going to ask you to talk me through this video because I'm going to show it for you. This is the headline that we showed to our audiences on aljazeera.com. Meet India's Jamia women who took on Delhi police in viral video. So this goes back to early December. In a sentence, tell us where you were, what you were doing, and then I'm going to play the video. So just set it up in a sentence, Aisha. Go ahead. What happened?
Actually, the protesters was going on, in which we have been blocked somewhere near the Juleena using barricades. Since we don't wanted to make it a violent protest, we took a shortcut so that we can reach the NH National Highway. So somewhere around near to the National Highway, the protesters, like the police, acted brutally towards the protesters. And at that time, my friend Ladida, within the moment, police has cleared all over the area, and without any provocation, they used the tear gas.
Okay.
And one of my friend Ladida had asthmatic problems, so we shifted her to the courtyard of a house in order to give her emergency.
So, Aisha, I'm going to play the video now. I'm going to play the video because the pictures are worth 1,000 words, as that saying goes. So let me just show you what happened. So here we have the protest. This is in early December. And I mean, Kartikeya makes a good point. You do not know the situation, do not know how this starts, but you can see, the beating and the batons and the sticks. And then look at Aisha. Look at Aisha, what she's doing. She's wearing the red scarf.
Yes.
And she's, that finger wagging went viral. And if the women had not been there, who knows what would happen to the gentleman on the floor. Okay, let's move on. There's a he said, she said, or they said conversation here. But there are genuine fears, Assad, that this idea of the Citizenship Amendment Act, that there's something else that is going to happen after this, that it might escalate. What are the fears that are driving people onto the street, that are making people like Kartikeya saying, you don't understand the facts? What are the fears? Can you articulate them for me?
The fears are the government intends to do National Register of Citizens, which the Home Minister used my name and said in the Parliament. What is NRC, which we call NRC? It is the same side of one coin, NPR and NRC. Both of them are to be done under the Citizenship Act of 1955.
That's the National Register of Citizens, and then also we have the National Popular Registry. They don't exist as of yet, but you're concerned that they may well exist for the whole of India.
Exactly.
Right.
The government has clearly said that they intend to do. The government is speaking different voices to confuse the people. Believe me, once those NPR is done, and for example, if my name is excluded, and I'm asked to produce documents, I'll be classified as a doubtful citizen. And anyone can go and object to my inclusion as an Indian citizen. This we have seen in the state of Assam. I repeat again, in the state of Assam, 500,000 Muslims' names excluded, 500,000 Bengali Hindus' names have been excluded. The government, in this discriminatory law, wants to give citizenship to the 500,000 Bengali Hindus. That in itself is discriminatory.
So
now,
can I play you what Prime Minister Modi said about people's fears about this could escalate and you could end up with a national registry of citizens. This is what he said to that charge. Have a listen.
After my government came into power since 2014, I would like to tell the people in India that nowhere has NRC been discussed. There has been no talk of it. Because of the Supreme Court's direction, we had to go through with it in Assam. What are you, the opposition, talking about? Lies are being spread.
Aisha, you've been protesting for such a long time and you've put yourself in danger. I'm going to just leave that as that's what Prime Minister Modi's pushback is to people who are worried about the escalation from the CAA. Aisha, you've been out there, you've faced being in a very risky situation. Why are you doing it? What is at stake for you?
This is our moment of existence. If we are not acting against this today, then we will be completely excluded from the constitution. When the Babari verdict came, all the Muslim community, everyone of India has been judicially excluded. And when the Citizenship Amendment Act CAA is coming, we are being constitutionally excluded. We are not talking about what is
fear-mongering. Aisha, you are an Indian citizen. The CAA does not apply to you.
We are analyzing the things. See, yaar, what are you talking like? It applies
the CAA does not apply to any Indian.
It will apply. That is why the people of India are on the street.
It's a law to give citizenship. How do you give citizenship to someone who's already an Indian?
Can I come in?
Does it apply to Bengali Hindus?
Aisha and Assad. Kartikeya is saying is that this CAA, it doesn't apply to you. He's saying it doesn't apply to you. You're not a foreign refugee. It doesn't apply to you. May I play you just one more thing? Because obviously we are not going to come to agreement in this conversation. That's not going to happen. But I want to share with you the way forward, and maybe the way forward is via the courts. I want you to have a listen to this assistant professor. We spoke to him a little bit earlier, and this is what he shared with us about maybe where the way forward might be, is deciding is the CAA, is it constitutional even? Have a listen.
And the record of the high courts on these protests have been mixed. While some high courts, notably those of Allahabad and Guwahati, have proudly stood up for civil liberties, challenged the internet bans, and released protesters who have been detained, other high courts, like the one in Delhi, have postponed hearings and left questions pending. One thing is very clear: there are very high expectations of the Supreme Court that will rise to the occasion. It's bolstered by a newer unanimity amongst lawyers and legal academics about the basic unconstitutionality of the Act. And for the first time, I think, since independence, the Constitution is being sort of debated and discussed on the streets across India. And we hope the court rises to the challenge and responds with correctness.
I'd like to come in.
Yeah, please, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I only want to ask Mr. Owaisi one thing. He earlier said that the law cannot violate on basis of cannot discriminate on basis of religion. He must be aware that there's minority scholarships in India that give scholarships to students who specifically belong to Buddhist, Christians, Jain, Muslim, Sikhs, and Parsi communities. It does not give scholarship to Hindus. How is that law legal? The courts, the Supreme Courts, the high courts have held that law to be legal. Why doesn't it discriminate on the basis of religion? The reason why it's constitutional is because it's a positive discrimination. That's the difference. It does not render the Hindu any worse off than what he would have been if none of this existed. Similarly, the CAA does not render the Indian Muslim or even Muslim migrants any worse off. The only thing that it does is it recognizes that in 3 Islamic states where Islam is the state religion in their constitution, there are 6 religions who are persecuted on religious ground. They are minorities according to the laws and according to the constitutions of those countries. And this law, CAA, gives them citizenship. It has nothing to do with Indians. It actually gives citizenship to someone who's not an Indian. And in regards to the Assam NRC, Assam NRC was created out of a very specific situation, a very specific set of circumstances. Because of the creation of Bangladesh in 1971, a lot of people migrated from Bangladesh, which was then created from East Pakistan, into Assam. And Assam, the local Assamese population, did not want all this influx of migrants, and they protested very violently, very heavily, because of which an Assam Accord, a treaty, was signed. And by the way, everything that has happened under Assam NRC has had the endorsement of the Supreme Court of India. The government, even if it doesn't like how the Assam NRC has played out, it has to obey.
I'm just going to wrap you up here because you've been very consistent in your argument, i.e. you've got the facts wrong, you are misinformed. Exactly. Let me just throw it back to Aisha. Aisha, just for a closing thought here, and very, very briefly, are you confident that the courts in India, the Supreme Court, might be able to sort out this question?
I am very much confident that everyone all over the world is pressurizing over this bill. All over the world is discussing. So we are in a hope. We are in an positive hope that Supreme Court will be acting against this unconstitutional law which is
Aisha.
passed by the BJP government.
Aisha, thank you so much for bringing us the protesters' perspective. Assad and Kartikeya, we really appreciate you being here on the stream. That's all the time we have. Thanks for watching. See you next time.